Welcome to episode 1 of Inside Jeff Football, the all gas, no brakes podcast. I am head coach Pat Shanley, and we're really excited to get this podcast up and rolling. It's a new idea that, kind of our brain trust put out there to help our fans, our players, our community, our alumni, and anybody who just wants to know more about our program to give you guys some insight into all the happenings within our program. So not really sure where it's going to go, but we're certainly excited about the direction that it could take. Welcome to episode 1 of the All Gas, No Brakes podcast.
What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All gas, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All gas, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos.
So here we are on the All Gas, No Brakes podcast that looks at Lafayette Jeff Broncos football. My name's Rick Carter. I'm the assistant in the radio TV program here at Lafayette Jeff High School. To my right, the head coach of the Lafayette Jeff Broncos, Pat Shanley, going into his 10th, think about that, 10 seasons here at Jeff, sparkling 76-22 record, and coming off what last year was an undefeated regular season, 11-1 overall, champions of the North Central Conference, sectional champions, and a program that has been on the move for quite a while. We're excited about this podcast. I know you did a little bit of introduction, what we're hoping to do. First of all, tell us about the guy sitting next to you, and then we're going to launch into a couple of just basic questions.
Yes, Jake Wanner. He's been with our program since 2014. Worn a lot of different hats, but he's a guy that our kids love. He's a teacher at Tecumseh, teaches history, 8th grade?
Yeah, 8th grade US.
Yeah, so he's kind of the mastermind behind our passing game, I'd say, but just a great dude, a great football coach, loves Lafayette Jeff, loves our kids. Jake, what am I missing, man?
Nothing. I mean, that's really, I think mastermind's probably a bit of a strong term. But, I'm the benefit of having a lot of great athletes that come through the program and a lot of other great coaches that obviously help flush out and build our program. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to assist with this and help you guys out, and thanks for having me on.
And you're knocking off the podcast dust.
Yeah, trying to anyways. Yeah. We watched one over at Tecumseh with Coach Sewell, and I was like, dang, there was a lot of stuff I could have done better. But it's nice to be back and doing some stuff like this.
I want to learn more about your background for both of you, really, where you went to high school, where you went to college, what your philosophy was growing up, who your manners were. You come from California. I want to know a little bit more about that. But first of all, if I look at this football helmet right here, AGNB, we already know this is called the All Gas, No Brakes podcast. Where does that come from? How do you incorporate that in the daily lives of your players and this football program?
Yeah, so when we kind of started our program, I guess, in 2015, where our staff came together, and we wanted to have an identity of going fast on offense. And I don't know, we were at a clinic, I think it was the gun clinic that Leonard was running. He said something like all gas, no brakes, and I'm thinking like that's going to define who we want to be offensively, and it did. So it really kind of started with how we wanted to operate offensively, how we wanted to practice, and things like that. But it's taken on a deeper meaning, I think, of off the field type of stuff where the A stands for always compete, the G stands for grit, the N stands for nothing left, and the B stands for brotherhood. So we try to talk about those things and break those things down through our leadership program and make it more than just about football. But, yeah, like I said, it started as, going fast, up-tempo, no huddle on offense, and it's really kind of evolved from there.
Play through the whistle?
Of course.
Yeah. It's weird. It's kind of become like a lifestyle for the players and coaches. And it used to be like you'd hear coaches talk about, I'm burning it at both ends. I'm out here and then I'm staying up all night, and you don't hear our coaches complain about doing that because it's kind of become the lifestyle. And you don't hear our kids when we end mid-November, end of November, start up December 3rd in the weight room again. There aren't people complaining because they know it's the lifestyle of Jeff football. That's what we do, is that we're constantly switched on, ready to go. and we're competing, I think, is the big one that you see drive out of that. That's the easiest one to identify, right? Is our kids are constantly competing at a lot of different things. And I was just telling Coach Shanley, as I left here earlier, running into several of my receivers in my position group, and they're all talking about they're going to some combine beginning of next week to compete against the best in the state, So it's kind of cool to see our guys doing that.
So here we are, February 11th. This might be about the halfway point between when the season ended and when you can officially report for your first practices. Maybe we're not quite there, but getting close. What's going on right now here in mid-February in the football program to help the team get better for 2025?
Yeah, so there's limited contact periods that we are able to essentially practice football in the wintertime and in the springtime. We don't use all of them. We've got a lot of guys that do multi-sport. We want football to be fun when it's time for football season. But we do make sure that we do things to develop our skill development. Coach Wanner designed our entire, essentially, offensive skill winter development program. We had really good attendance with that. We used to do it before school with the new schedule. We went after school, and I think that really paid off. We had great attendance. We actually, our 8th graders came over. I think our middle school attendance was probably better than it's ever been too. So.
Yeah, we had quite a few of the incoming freshmen, to-be freshmen, that were there, and it's nice to be able to start getting that, AGNB influence into them. And they do it down at the middle school too, but it's a different level at the high school, so it's nice to get them exposure to that.
It's kind of nice. You're a teacher at Tecumseh. Pretty easy walk across the parking lot without really even having to encounter cars or anything. So you're even able to get your middle school kids involved in this during the off season, as well as your high school kids. And I guess having them mingle doesn't hurt, especially when you got 8th graders and freshmen. They're going to be teammates, be upperclassmen together too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and really, the one thing that I think with them coming over is that Coach Shanley and Coach Henderson specifically too have done a really good job of preaching that it's our upperclassmen's job to serve our underclassmen, right? So when I grew up, when he was growing up, when you were a freshman, you were serving the upperclassmen, carrying pads and helmets and things like that. And we flipped the script on that. And by we, Coach Shanley and Coach Henderson really preaching the idea of our upperclassmen serving our underclassmen. So they don't show up and feel out of place. In fact, it looks like our older guys probably do a better job of coaching them up than I do in those sessions, which is kind of impressive to see. So it's really something that I think culturally we've built that's strong.
Pat Shanley, Jake Wanner, by the way, I'm Rick Carter. We're on the All Gas, No Breaks podcast talking about Broncos football. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, so just getting further into our offseason, we have a really unique setup here thanks to our administration. We have a football class that meets every day, second period, for 90 minutes. And Coach Henderson, our associate head coach, head D-line coach, he's been with us a long time. He'll be on a future podcast here soon, I'm sure. But it's split with weights class with Coach Dunkel, and I say weights. It's sports performance. It's not your granddaddy's weights class. Yeah. I mean, these guys are moving and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that you see elite athletes doing. Coach Dunkel does a tremendous job in there. And then they go to study hall or they switch. I don't know if I'm doing a great job explaining that, but it's a really unique deal that I think very few schools are fortunate enough to be able to utilize. And then with that, we're building, Coach talked about competing and always competing in our program. We're going to a strength contest March 1st at Hamilton Southeastern against them, Avon, Warren Central, who am I missing? I think Mount Vernon and us.
Yep.
So it'll be 5 different schools there. They're doing testing the bench squat clean, the 40, and then there will be a team tug of war too. So
wow, that's pretty cool.
And I'll tell you what, our kids, it's like a Friday night game for them. Like, I'm not a big weight room guy. You'll never see me getting all hyped for the weight room, but we get our kids down there, and it's like it's the first game of the season. Yeah, like they are excited, and there's a lot of hooting and hollering, and we've done extremely well over the last 3 or 4 years down in those things. Placing very highly amongst the teams when it comes to the lifting and things like that. So it's pretty cool to watch them do that. So
I don't know how many people understand the upgrade to the weight room, the weight program that transpired from the time you filled in the old pool here and turned it into a weight room with some really nice help from our community and some patrons. And now, and that'll be maybe the subject of one of the podcasts. We'll shoot some video of that, show the kids working out. But what that looks like, and I don't know if we have any photos of the old place, but it's kind of an outhouse to the penthouse situation.
That's a good
and every football team builds itself on the weight room at some point, right?
It was when I got here in 14, me and Coach Henderson got here in 14, I was really excited. I'm like, I'm coming to a 6A school. I came and saw Schumann for the first time. I'm like, this is a big stadium. It's bigger than the one I played in at St. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's much bigger than that. So I'm thinking, all right. Get in the weight room, and it's a little shoebox. Like, it was a shoebox that had a weird L.
4X.
Yeah, and I think the weights had probably been here since OGD graduated back
80s,
in the
yeah.
80s. Yeah, it was a different experience. So what we have now is dramatically different.
It's Cadillac.
Yeah.
What'd they fill in the pool with again? Somebody
Styrofoam.
told. Yeah, that's it. I thought, well, they'll just fill it in with like 20 semis full of cement. No, they put styrofoam in because that's a lot cheaper.
I guess, I don't know. But yeah, you can actually, when guys are doing the power clean and dropping the weight, you can feel the floor shake a little bit, right? So it's kind of cool. When we're all cleaning at the same time, it kind of has a neat feeling to it. But yeah, man, it's 10,000 square feet. They get work done in there. It's
all
state of the
Sornex.
art, all Sornex,
All
which
Sornex,
is
yep.
I think like Sornex is like professional teams. Purdue has Sornex. Like
I
a
think
lot of them.
Auburn University is a big
Sounds
Sornex
right.
school. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you walk in and it's a college level weight room, no doubt.
Shoot, we had I don't know, probably 10 Division I schools come through, and there were several of them that commented that ours is a nicer space and nicer equipment than theirs.
Yeah.
So our kids are fortunate. Our community certainly invested in our kids and our student athletes here.
This is the Jeff Football All Gas No Breaks podcast. I'm Rick Carter. Pat Shanley, the head coach of the Lafayette Jeff Broncos football team, and Jake Wanner, who, let's get into a little bit of your background. Played football in high school, obviously, then at the D1 level in college, wound up here in Indiana. Just take us through your evolution real quickly.
Yeah, I mean, California is kind of known as a football state. I played at a high school that I would compare similarly to like West Lafayette as far as size and probably tradition as far as the lower level 3A type schools. And I was just blessed, to be honest with you, to play for a good team and then fit the height weight standard that you have for athletes being 6'4" and 185, 190 pounds coming out.
And what position?
It was a quarterback.
Okay.
I quickly realized when I got to the next level how little I knew. And I think that's something, not to get off track.
Where'd you go
It was
originally?
UNLV originally. Yeah. And then what we've done is, I think what I missed in high school was we take time to actually try to teach our kids the game of football, where when I was growing up, we had 3 assistant coaches, and it was throw it to the open guy, and that doesn't work at the college level. Although UNLV had a good year this year, historically they've been really bad. Mm-hmm. And so coaching staff got fired. They brought a new one in. They said, hey, where do you want to go, tight end or transfer? And I haven't blocked or caught anything in my life. As our receivers will tell you, I'm terrible at catching, which is not ideal. But I ended up switching out to St. Joe in Rensselaer, Indiana, home of Pat Shanley here. And played for 3 years there, had a great time, had a great coaching staff there, met my wife, and then it's just been Indiana ever since. So, I enjoy being here. So, and it's just ironic that our paths crossed, and now actually we talk about places in Rensselaer we've both been, and I knew Coach Meeks before I
All
knew
fine
him.
establishments,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
You grew up in Rensselaer.
I did. Yeah. Played for Coach Meeks. Spent some time at St. Joe growing up as a kid. But, yeah, it's a great hometown, man. It's too bad that St. Joe's closed.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? And, of course, that's where the Chicago Bears trained for many, many years.
I lived in Hallis Hall.
My dad would go out there where they train. He has Gail Sayers' autograph, Dick Butkus' autograph in his office.
They sold the movie that they made about what was the running back that got sick?
Brian Piccolo.
Brian Song.
Yeah,
Brian
they sold
Song.
that in the bookstore at St. Joe because they filmed a lot of it on that campus too. So
That's true.
They were entrenched. The Bears were up there, so it's kind of cool.
Where'd you go to college?
Purdue. Yeah.
Purdue,
So
okay.
I coached for Coach Meeks.
I knew you were a smart guy.
Right out. Yeah, right. But I did not have good enough grades, and I was not good enough at sports to get a lot of money. So I could have been a bullpen catcher at St. Joe, a couple D3 offers, but I chose to just go start being a coach. And fortunately, Coach Meeks let me volunteer right out of high school.
Anything else about the off season?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, obviously, the colleges are coming through, talking to our players, which is really awesome. I think Omar's on his fourth.
He's got 4 offers.
Four
yeah.
offers now.
Omar.
Williams.
Okay.
So,
Nate just got his first from Miami.
and they're in the dead period now, so you won't see too many of them like really moving through right now. We have kids going to combine, so there's the Best of the Midwest combine. Our kids will go up there and compete with kids from all over the Midwest, not just Indiana. So you'll see that happening, which is good because it gets them some verified times and gets them in front of some smaller schools that aren't in a dead period. The weightlifting competition.
So another cool thing that we do, that we actually started this and brought this to Lafayette, 6 years ago? We do a college showcase day. So during our second period class, we'll send invitations out to all of the colleges and universities within Indiana, every surrounding state, and they'll watch us work out. They'll watch our kids work out, not us. That'd be bad.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
With an ice cream cone in your hand.
Yeah. But they'll watch our kids work out, and we'll go. I think OGD sets up. It's all electronic timing. It's really quite the spectacle that OGD helps put on in terms of all the timing and things.
And when is this?
So this is April 24th.
Okay.
But we'll have 40 to 50 schools that come in here to watch our kids work out. Mrs. Johns, our athletic academic coordinator, she'll have transcripts of all of our juniors and seniors. We'll have packets of that.
Yeah.
They'll be able to access our recruiting website, which is broncofbrecruits.com. And, so they'll just see us work out. And then we've had kids that DeMarco, Bishop Johnson, Jalen Monroe, Peyton Price, all those guys got their first offers coming out of our college day. So it's a really cool deal. And for our kids, they don't have to go pay for these junior days and go pay, for these exposure camps. It comes to them, which benefits the college coaches too. They get to come.
And I don't want to toot the horn of our program, but we were one of the first.
Yes, you do. That's what we're here for.
It seems like bragging. It does. It seems like bragging, but we were one of the first people in the state to be doing this. So you'd see the Ben Davises and the Warrens, where college coaches are going there anyways to watch their kids work out. But we were, I think, one of the early schools in the state to really organize a day and invite 50-plus colleges to show up. And then it went from kind of us doing it to now the whole county's doing it. Yep. And the coaches kind of just make a circle around Lafayette, hitting up the schools. But
it's staggered times.
Yep.
So not all the schools can come together because that would violate NCAA rules. So you stagger the times. And if you're a college recruiter, they get one day in that city, and they can knock out, a lot of their recruiting. It's a good investment of their time. So it's really kind of become a big thing within the state of Indiana.
We're going to wrap it up here in a minute, but we're going to have at least one show that just really talks about recruiting and how Jeff athletes are, as you're saying now, have their own special day, but all the things go into it. I think you're going to have a recruiting expert come on. And as you can tell in just the 15 minutes or so we've been on the air, there's so much to talk about. We haven't even gotten through the off season. I want to spend some time reflecting on last season because it was such a tremendous when you bounce back from a year where you were 5-5, and I know you felt like there was room for improvement, and bam, we got it right. And then there is a whole thing that's developing the state legislature that is going to revolutionize, if that's the correct term, or change the transfer rules in the state of Indiana. And this isn't the IHSAA, this is in the legislature where it's going to actually be codified into law, and that'll probably be the subject of one show. So a lot to talk about, and make sure you guys find out when our next one is. Should be in a couple weeks. Anything else before we wrap up, guys?
I have a question for Rick, since he's been firing them at us. Super Bowl just happened, Rick.
Yeah.
You an Eagles or a Chiefs fan, or did you have a horse in the race, or how'd that work for you?
I did not have a horse in the race. I didn't care who won. I'm not a hater, which means I didn't dislike the Kansas City Chiefs because all the haters pretty much were, I don't want to see him repeat. Mahomes is getting, he's got pillows taped around him. I picked Kansas City to win that thing 24-20, because I thought it was going to be a close game, and they have won their last 17 games by one score or less, right? Well, they got blown out, so we didn't have to worry about that. But I also knew that the Eagles were being overlooked because people don't talk about things that are boring like offensive and defensive lines and the toughness of a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and the running game, which is an afterthought anymore in the NFL. So I just thought it was an extreme example of what can happen if one team isn't ready to play and if one team's line just gets their tail kicked up and down the line of scrimmage.
100%.
You guys have quick thoughts on that, and then we'll wrap it up.
I mean, the first thing, I didn't really watch the game. I'm a hardcore Notre Dame 49ers guy, and if they're not playing, I don't really pay attention. But I can tell you this, the 2 interior 1 and 3 techniques for the Philadelphia Eagles,
Jalen Carter,
they
he is the legit.
destroyed the interior. And when you can get pushed vertically on a quarterback and make a move laterally, as our D-line coaches would say, you're winning, right? If you allow Patrick to climb up and get vertical, it's going to be a lot easier for him to find people and throw. So that, I think, right there starts it off. But I'm not going to lie, as a Joe Montana guy, big Niners guy, I'm kind of glad he lost one so Montana can stay up a little bit higher just behind Brady there. So that made me happy a little bit.
Discussion as a GOAT.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Well, my 8-year-old JJ was really disappointed. He's a gigantic Mahomes fan. He said he went to school the next day and everybody was harassing him. But no, it's good to see the Eagles, man. I think their head coach has kind of got a unique story, being a D3 guy.
And a lot of people wanted him fired.
Yeah, how about that?
As recently as maybe the second week of the season.
Right. So it's cool to see him. You see a bounce back like Barkley.
He had to suffer
got his
through.
vengeance.
Yeah, he had to suffer through bad ownership in New York and then playing with pretty much bad teams, and they cut him. That's the craziest part about them doing Hard Knocks this year is you hear the ownership in New York be like, the quarterback's our guy. Move Barkley, and then he ends up getting the.
Thought he was done.
Yeah, he ends
Just
up
had
getting
the greatest season in history
Yeah.
of running backs.
For sure.
Pretty special to see that. So, neat story. I didn't have much of a dog in the fight either, but yeah, it's good to see Coach Henderson's out there. He got to see really, really good D-line play, which certainly speaks loud to our kids because we'll talk about our D-line and the potential that group has.
Yeah, you can show that you can show that video to both your offensive and defensive lines and show what happens when one dominates. We're going to wrap it up, but we're going to be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. I'm going to tell people where they can find that. Pat Shanley, head coach of the Lafayette Jeff Broncos. Jake Wanner is the assistant passing game coordinator. It's been fun. It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like riding a bike.
Just start talking football.
It's not bad. Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
I just want to shout out Coach K and his wife. They just had their first baby, so we're adding more Broncos to the family. So it's kind of cool to see that. Now it seems like we've got a dozen or so little kids running around the program, but I just want to shout him out since they just had that.
The future of Jeff football is very bright.
It is indeed. So.
All right, congratulations to him and her because she did all the hard work.
100%.
All right, thanks for watching the Inside Jeff football broadcast. The All Gas, No Brakes, AGNB, it says it right here, podcast. Don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the Jeff RTV YouTube channel where you find this program and tell your friends and family about it. We got people all over the country that might be interested in this. We want to get the good word out about Lafayette Jeff Broncos football. Episode 2 coming up. Stay tuned for that. The count of 3, you guys are going to know what to say, all right? 1, 2, 3, go Broncos!
What we rep, Lafayette Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette Jeff, Broncos,